I want to issue a big welcome to Morgan. Morgan,
Hello.
thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Morgan. I am from a very small town in North Carolina, but thankfully I had a lot of access to the arts through a community theater and a performing arts high school. So I did theater all growing up and I attended NYU Tisch School of the Arts. And I was in cabarets and shows there and lots of class projects. And then I graduated right in the pandemic. So not
Oh
a whole lot
no.
of happening then. And I'd been in New York for 4 years at that point. So I packed up and thought it'd be fun to explore LA. I spent a couple months living in LA before I got a job that was going to need me back in New York. So I did 1 year in LA, came right back. I was working as a personal assistant for an actor and musician. And I did that for 2 years, learned a lot about the industry, got to work on Broadway, got to work on the Disney lots in Burbank, got a lot of experience. I call it my grad school. And then I finished that job right in the middle of the SAG-AFTRA strike. So again, not a whole lot of auditions happening.
I
So I
mean,
took
your sense of timing is amazing. I'm
it's
just,
impeccable. It's
man.
really something to be admired. And then just took a couple months to travel and, kind of get back into. Sorry, that is my cat's automatic feeder. It took some time just to settle back into who I wanted to be as an artist, how I changed from graduating to now, and just been auditioning, doing some short films, and figuring it out.
I think that's all we're doing these days is we're on completely new trajectories in a world of theater is always evolving. It's always there. It is probably the most unappreciated medium, and that's why we do it because we love it. But yeah, I am super happy to have you as a part of this team and this project, and I'm really excited to see what you do with the material.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yes. By the way, I'm Maddie. Delightful to
Hi,
meet you.
nice
I
to,
feel
I
like I
figured.
should.
Okay.
So I wrote this piece for you because you came up with a very specific, you were very specific in what you kind of presented to me, saying you're constantly cast as these tragic figures. And I just thought there's a really funny beauty about someone who's just fed up with always being the ingenue who's just cast in the tragic role, which yeah, when you the great thing about that is that you presented something very specific that I could latch onto. And I was just like, that gives me a beautiful kernel. It gives me an idea of what you've done in the past and how we can kind of twist that in a new and unique way. So thank you for even unintentionally doing it, but doing a very
My
specific idea.
pleasure. It's just so funny because I have done I do sing, but I've done Eponine's song so many times. So it was so funny that that was something that you included too.
I didn't have any idea. That's great.
I know, it's fantastic.
Well, as someone who has read through it a few times now, what were your impressions of the monologue? Do you have any questions about it? Was there anything you wanted to share?
I do just want to confirm
Mhm.
Edmonton
Yes,
in Canada,
Edmonton's in Canada.
and I'm pronouncing it Edmonton.
Edmonton. Edmonton
Love.
is the correct pronunciation. You're perfect.
Okay, thank you. No, I love it. I think I mentioned it feels a little bit of that je ne sais quoi that Alexis Rose has in Schitt's Creek, which is a brilliant show, um, where she's just saying these unfathomably wild things so casually and so just, oh, who
Oh yeah,
hasn't spent the night in the trunk of a car, you know? So
yeah,
I loved that. I loved that it was comedic, but also has that tragedy in it still too. Staying true to my roots, I
yeah.
guess.
It is a very Canadian thing that we take things and we write them in a way that's we like to approach dark from a funny angle. So
I love it.
yeah, that's maybe not the best national point of pride, but we'll take it. We'll take it.
I
We
like
have very
it.
little to be proud of,
Good.
so we're good with it.
I'm a fan.
So, the goal right now is to do a read through of it, get your ideas about it, where your voice is kind of peaking and doing valleys, and just kind of work through it a little bit. So, if you would be so kind, I'd like you just to kind of read it out, do a performance, and then we can just kind of go over and take care of some notes after.
Sure. Okay, great.
Excellent. So, on your own time.
Hmm. Let me guess. It's another tragedy, right? Look, it's not you. It's me. I just always get these parts, and it's frustrating. I mean, yes, I'm happy to be working, and yes, my career is off to a brilliant start. And yes, I am blessed in so many ways. I mean, I'm freshly out of theater school and I'm working, which is incredible enough. I'm just really tired of these roles already. Like I've played Juliet. Okay, I've played Cassandra, Joan of Arc, Ophelia, even Eponine. Fucking Eponine. Okay, I don't sing, but they have this idea that I'm this perfect tragic figure, and I just don't get it. I mean, sure, I did get cancer at a young age, but I survived. And sure, my boyfriend did dump me on our anniversary. And sure, my mom killed my dad before fleeing the country with me to join a cult in Edmonton. And sure, while I was there, my childhood dog was brutally slaughtered in ritual sacrifice. And sure, my mother gained notoriety as she rapidly ascended the ranks until she was leader of the compound and would never play or talk to me again. And sure, once the once the police broke into the compound and I watched them brutally massacre in front of me, leaving me crying in a pool of her blood, the rest of my cult family were either murdered or killed. And sure, they sent me to some strange kind of rehabilitation where I had to learn how to be reintegrated into society with a man who watched my room every night as I screamed myself to sleep. And sure, maybe that caused me to accidentally stab a few people with an ice pick when I opened the wrong freezer and realized the man I was living with was actually a serial killer who froze dead bodies to eat them. And sure, once that was done, I realized my parents had been lying to me for years, and the cannibal lying cop was actually my father, who then immediately died of cancer. But to think that I'm just some kind of tragedy magnet, it's just completely unjustified.
Very nicely done.
Thank you.
I really love that you're approaching this from such a lighthearted angle. I think that's a really cute way to go about it. And especially when you start at the beginning, uh, I do feel like you can take it a bit further. Where right
Okay.
now you're starting and you're very sweet and you're very innocent right away, and that comes across very strongly. And it just for me, I would really like to see you start this from more of a position of extreme frustration where it's a case of you're super happy you got this, but at the same time, you kind of hate that it's this.
Okay.
So the idea right now that you're portraying, it's very good, it's very understated, but you have permission to take this way over the top. Go full camp. This can be like
Okay.
full drag queen realness. And if that helps you to kind of envision it or live in it a little bit more, I think that would be
Great.
interesting to see. For instance, right now you're playing it. Let me guess, it's another tragedy, right? When you could, I almost feel like you could start it from a position being like, oh, let me guess. It's another tragedy, right? Like you can go as far, I'm terrible, but you can go as far as you want with it and really
Okay.
play it up.
Okay.
And yeah, don't be afraid to just dig in, have fun, go full camp, tear this apart.
Okay.
And yeah. Uh do you want to just try like the maybe even the first three lines again? Because it's
Sure.
just like, oh, yes, I'm happy to be working. Yes, my career is off to a brilliant. Yes, like you can really I feel like
Okay.
there's a lot of places you can really dig in there, and you have my permission to fully go mad with it. Go crazy.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. Let me guess. It's another tragedy, right? Look, it's not you, it's me. I always get the same parts and it's really frustrating. Okay, yes, I'm happy to be working. Yes, my career is off to a brilliant start. Yes, I'm blessed in so many ways. Like, I get it. I'm just out of theater school and I'm working, which is incredible enough in and of itself. I'm just really fucking tired of these roles already.
That's great. I especially love I feel like you really kind of caught the idea of it with the I mean, I'm freshly out of theater school and I'm working. I really liked how you were just like, "Ooh, yes, I get it that I guess this is the thing." And I think it's almost that restraint that makes it funnier where you're
Okay.
trying, you know, how sometimes when you're trying so hard not to laugh that just makes it funnier.
Yep.
When you're trying so hard to be restrained and polite and you just can't anymore,
Hmm.
I don't know if you have family, but that's what it does to me, where I'm just like, oh, I love you, but I kind of want to kill you, but I love you, but oh,
Yep.
yeah. I feel like adding some more layers of that in would go a long way because what
Cool.
you're doing right now is really good, but adding that extra layer of just like trying to hold yourself back will just take it a step further and will really kind of breathe some more life into that.
Okay, perfect.
And the reason why I think the restraint is so funny at the beginning is because you do have this switch point halfway through. Because you've done the first part of this monologue is everything up until I just don't get it, where you're talking about the characters. So just like,
Yep.
yes, I've played Juliet, I've played Cassandra, I've played Joan of Arc, even Eponine. Fucking Eponine. This is kind of like a cliche of mine that I do sometimes where I'm just like, even this fucking this. So when I do that, that's kind of your permission to do like clench it and
Okay.
yeah. That's just me
A
and
little
my
like
monologues.
why I oughta energy.
Exactly. You can
Okay.
if you did that, I would laugh. I would laugh hysterically.
Perfect.
Grumble. Grr. Yeah. No good though. Very good.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
uh but yeah. So
And
that beginning
then
is really about that restraint and kind of settling into it. But
okay.
then at the switch, the beautiful thing that you're doing really well is that you have this sweetness to the darkness where you're just like you're trying to make it all sound like it's normal and perfect, like the Alexis Rose stuff.
I think it very much speaks to the ingenue casting in the past.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
even the sense where it's just like, I mean, sure, I got cancer at a young age, but I survived. And it's like you think that's the worst thing, and then it gets worse, and then the
Yeah.
big flea it gets incredibly worse. You could almost have your focus get pulled a little bit. So it's just like, sure, I got cancer at a young age, but I survived. And sure, my boyfriend dumped me, but on our anniversary, I mean, maybe you could even say, but I survived there as well. I could put
Okay.
that in for you. Maybe that's
Okay.
I can adjust that. We can do this. There we go.
Beautiful. Okay.
uh but yeah, the big chunk at the end, the more lost you get in it, the funnier it gets. And like right now, this is still, I can still tweak this around a little bit and we can work together to
Okay.
find out. I know that you're never going to say all of this word for word exactly. So
Listen,
even
if
if
you need me to, I will. Happy to.
never think that anything I write for you has to be word for word for word. I
Cool.
cannot say my words word for word. Maybe
Okay.
that's the ADHD talking. Maybe that's just because I can't see my material. But even when I say my own monologues, I tend to paraphrase and things get cut down and they jiggle around a little bit
Yeah.
because that's just kind of how it works. That's just kind of what the idea of this is. So you get like really dark, and it's almost the idea of tension lies between you're playing with really dark stuff, but you're making it sound really light and silly and funny.
Hmm.
And the funnier and lighter you take it, the longer that suspension of like talking about the dark stuff will always make people uncomfortable, right? It's
Right.
just what happens. But if you have this idea of tension where it's just like, I mean, sure, my mom killed my dad before fleeing the country with me to join a cult in Edmonton. But like for that line, I think almost the joke is that it's just like you have this big part at the end, it's just like to join a cult in Edmonton.
Got
Like
it.
there's a lot of places you can kind of play with this where you make everything sound really light and happy, and then the part that's, you know, the part that's the gut punch for you is the part that shouldn't be the gut punch.
Got it. So I'm just making it on Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. In Edmonton. Okay. It feels a little bit too like a 21 Pilot song where they're just saying
I mean,
sorry, the most like awful things, but the beat's great, you know?
I'm not gonna lie, I do love them.
Okay, they're great.
They are great. This is now a 21 Pilots fan podcast.
There we
That's
go.
just how it goes.
Exactly.
I like how we have comparative cats. I can see yours, and ours is down here, right here.
Really? Okay, so she just is always there. And like if I locked her in a room, she would just be louder. And so it's just kind of one of those things that I work around now.
Oh no, perfect. Yeah, mine is just literally like laying in a bag.
Aww.
Yeah. I mean, he's not really mine, but I've adopted him. I'm the adopted dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
More on that later.
Yes, we'll get to that eventually.
Whose cat did you steal?
No, no, not steal. Just I settled into a place, and
Very nice.
he came with the place, so that's what we did.
Aw, love. Lovely.
uh, in the dark part.
Yes.
So, is there anything there that you're having issues with? Because it is the chunk of the monologue. It is something that has many layers to it, and it can have a tendency to uh when we're talking about dark stuff over and over and over again,
Mhm.
uh the challenge can be to find the different peaks and valleys in there as well.
Yeah.
So, like, I like the turn with Edmonton that I came up with, and that's just a me joke thing that I think is funny because
Sure.
no one likes Edmonton. Um,
And that's context that is so good to have.
yes, I mean I was gonna just say Canada, but I thought I'd be more specific. But
Well,
if you want
here,
to just say
here,
Canada,
I feel like the general vibe is that we like Canada quite a bit, so I'd be okay with that.
I mean I'm okay with making Canada. I'll take Canada loves to take the piss out of ourselves. We do,
Okay, that's
which is why
lovely.
we're making fun of Edmonton. I
Okay,
mean,
got it.
we could also make fun of Toronto, wherever you want. Pick a place, make it awful. That's the key. So,
I feel like I've quite enjoyed Toronto when I've gone.
when
But
were you
Edmonton,
here?
if you're saying Edmonton, then Edmonton's where we'll go with.
Wherever you want to go. Edmonton's just a good fringe circuit, so we like to tease them and make fun of them a little.
Great. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I think that definitely, especially with the repetition of the and sure, because it is such a good device of just building on.
Hmm.
I think instead of treating every single one like it is a, well, I did do this, but da 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 da. It could be it could be fun to get farther and farther away from having a conversation with whoever I'm speaking to and more of and these things did happen and maybe just like almost reliving it just a little bit and experiencing the like telling the story back and like having a little bit of physicality with it that also kind of shows that it was not just a little thing that happened but still saying it in a tone that's a little bit lighter.
Absolutely.
Okay, if any of
Yeah.
that made any sense at all.
Oh no, absolutely. Like a big part of this is, well, one of the biggest questions I always like to ask people when they're talking about their monologue, it's just like, who do you think you're talking to? Or who have you chosen to talk to in this piece?
For this one, was that a rhetorical question or did you want to answer?
I mean, it's good to have like a specific person. If you don't have that in mind yet, that's fine. But I find like when I do know that, it kind of helps me figure out how I'm going to like approach it even. So,
It feels a little bit, just reading it through, it feels a little bit like I'm speaking to an agent or a manager,
okay.
who's someone that you want to maintain some level of professionalism with, but also that trusts you and knows you really, really well. And so, like, that's the person I'd be complaining of. I always get these roles. And also someone that it's totally plausible that I would go into a very tragic backstory with naturally. So that's kind of what I was just reading it as.
Absolutely. I think that's a great choice. Uh the key with this then, if you're talking to someone who's holds your career in your hand, would be having that idea of like restraint being very strong. Because when you're talking to someone you're professional
Yeah.
with, you really want to have that whole, ooh, I love this. I love to get us
I
both
love it
money,
so much.
but how
So
many
much.
times do I have to do this Tim Hortons commercial? Like what do I have to yeah. Yeah. It's a thing. I
Yes.
have my own issues with this. So
Okay. Should we go through it again?
I would
Time
love to.
wise? Okay, great.
I want to hear more peaks and valleys at the beginning. I really want to hear that restraint. And
Okay.
just at the end, uh, every time you say and sure, let's change it up and see what comes out from this play.
Cool. Okay, great. Let me guess. It's another tragedy, right? Look, it's not you. It's me. I always get these parts and it's really frustrating.
Perfect. I like what you're doing so far.
Okay.
I want you to, I can feel the directness now, which I really like.
Okay.
Can you keep that energy and then just try to make it really polite and pleasant?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be like, ooh, I love very Annie Murphy, very
Mm, okay.
mm,
Mm.
mm.
Let let me guess. It's another tragedy, right? Look, it's not you. It's me. I just I always get these parts and it's frustrating. You know, of course I'm happy to be working. My career is off to a brilliant start. I'm blessed in so many ways. Truly, I mean, I'm freshly out of theater school, and I'm working, which is incredible enough. I'm just, I'm just, I'm really, really tired of these roles already. I've played Juliet. I've played Cassandra. I've played Joan of Arc. I played Ophelia. I've played Eponine. Fucking Eponine. I don't sing. I don't sing. But they have this idea that I'm the perfect tragic figure, and I just don't get it. I mean, sure, I got cancer at a young age, but I survived. So, and sure, my boyfriend dumped me on our anniversary, but I survived that too. And sure, my mom killed my dad before fleeing the country with me to join a cult in Edmonton. And sure, while I was there, my childhood dog was brutally slaughtered in a ritual sacrifice. And sure, my mother did. She did gain some notoriety. She rapidly ascended the ranks until she was the leader of the compound and would never play or talk to me again. And sure, once the police broke into the compound, I watched them just brutally massacre her just right in front of me and leaving me crying just in a pool of her blood. And then the rest of my cult family was either murdered or killed. And sure, they sent me to some weird rehabilitation where I slowly had to learn how to reintegrate into society with a man who locked me in my room every night as I screamed myself to sleep. And sure, I maybe accidentally stabbed a few people because of that with an ice pick. But I opened the wrong freezer and realized that the man that I was living with was a serial killer who froze dead bodies to eat them later. And sure, once like all that was done, I realized that my parents had actually been lying to me for years, and that the cannibal lying cop was actually my father. Well, who then just immediately died of cancer. But to think that I'm just some sort of tragedy magnet, it's really just unjustified.
Very good. I do feel like you can still go a little further,
Yeah.
especially in uh I think that amplifying up some obliviousness would go a long way in this,
Okay.
especially at the point where you're I mean, sure, I got cancer at a young age, but I survived. And sure, my boyfriend dumped me on our anniversary, but I survived. And then when it gets kind of into the big area, uh the less it's almost like you have to make it sound like it didn't phase you at all.
Okay.
I was just like, and sure, my mom killed my dad before fleeing the country with me to join a cult in Edmonton. And sure, while I was there, my childhood dog was brutally like the
So
things
more
you're
so like
saying
I
are
haven't been to therapy
horrific.
for that.
Yeah. But almost like you've done so much therapy, or possibly you're beyond therapy that you don't even need it. You just don't even realize. So it's just like there's this whole idea that my life is just tragedy. And now I'm just everyone thinks of me as a tragedy magnet. It's totally not the case. People just die all the time, right? That's a thing.
This is normal. People
This is
move to
normal.
Edmonton.
But yeah,
Okay,
it's playing with that idea and really kind of there's a lot here to dig into for sure.
definitely. And I feel
Yeah.
like too, once we have the dialogue locked and I get to get off book with it, and then I just have a lot of freedom to stretch around and play with it.
Yeah. I do feel like on my part, it is kind of dragging in the middle there. I need to figure out. I can
Okay.
probably remove some sections to make it flow better and also just make it funnier for you. But
Totally up to you.
yeah, I do get really dark. So when I presented this to you, I was really worried, just like, I don't know how she's gonna take this.
No,
Just,
this is so fine, so good.
yeah,
This ain't nothing.
yeah,
I mean, I would hate if any of this happened to me, obviously. But
right? But
yeah,
thankfully
no,
it
go with
doesn't.
it. It's great.
But yeah,
What
my big
what
thing
do you want to
for
do?
you right now is just even just the beginning part, because I feel like that's very like I feel like the beginning's locked in for sure.
Definitely.
And I really just think it's that idea of just holding yourself back and being like, I really don't want to be that Karen right now, but I'm gonna be that Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go into some nasty directions here. And in
Okay.
the sense not that like you're being nasty or evil or vindictive or anything like that, just in the sense just like I'm so tired of tragedy.
Yeah.
Tragedy tragedy sucks. But not
Tragedy
because
sucks.
yeah. But it pays my dinner, like
There we
it pays
go.
my rent, but I don't like it. It's upsetting
Precisely.
me. Yeah.
Very into it. Where do you feel like personally that it's dragging in the middle of the and Shore sequence?
Oh, I think that's just me figuring out how to make it flow better. So I want it to go from like joke to joke to joke to joke to joke in
Okay.
the sense
In the
that
middle
like
pauses breaks.
yeah. And what I might do is I'm going to separate all the answers and then figure out like for me, I'm looking at it being like, oh, the part where my mother gained notoriety, it kind of feels like it repeats a little bit. And I don't the part that I wrote with the serial killer actual father doesn't quite work for me. I need to work on that to make it
Okay.
flow better. But that's just some me stuff, and that's just
Okay.
taking the words. And also now that I've spent some time with you and we can actually like mold around, I feel like I can take this and tweak it in a way that allows it to flow in a funnier and much easier way for you.
Amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
I appreciate that.
Well, I will probably take care of that today or tomorrow, and I will have that for you very soon. You'll
Wonderful.
know it's locked when you see locked at the top of the screen. So keep that in
Perfect.
mind. But yeah, apart from that, excited to have you.
Thank you.
And
I'm so excited to do this.
I will see you very soon, actually.
I know. I can't wait. Quick turnaround. And you got this out so quickly too. I was so impressed.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm very good at what I do.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. I love that.
Well, we're just so hard on ourselves as artists that I've decided to be like, you know what? No, I know what I can do now, and I'm going to make sure other people know what I can do now, and I'm going to make other people
Exactly.
know that they can do stuff just as good, just as fast, just as good.
There you
So,
go.
yeah,
Yeah, I
this is all
totally
about
agree with that.
empowerment.
Definitely. And I feel like it's also like there's such an idea too that we need to, I mean, there is humility that's got to come, but there's also, you need to know how to stand up for yourself because you're the one fighting for you. So
Exactly.
I love that.
No one else will make your career happen. It's up to you. So that's what
Yeah,
we
you're
do.
going to be your biggest cheerleader. So you better do it well. Be
Yeah.
a good cheerleader for yourself.
And if you don't do it well, then just keep trying.
There you go.
Yep.
Working
That's
on
the
it.
hope.
Well,
Well,
I'm
thank you
so
so much.
excited.
I'm super excited to have you. You've been wonderful. Thank you for talking to me today.
My pleasure.
If you do want more rehearsal time or if you want to come back, I will be doing this again next week, so you're welcome to connect again then. Apart
Wonderful.
from that, um are there any social medias you would like to plug?
I'm not a huge social media girl. I do have
Uh,
an Instagram. It's Morgan Warren X, but I'm not a huge social media person. Um, I don't I other than that, I think that's
I don't
kind
I
of
don't have to include that if you don't
it's
want me
more of
to.
a
Totally fine.
personal my life with my friends thing than trying to that's a whole other conversation. But I don't do a whole lot of my acting things on there. But if you want to be
Totally
friends,
fine.
that's my Instagram.
Oh, it sounds good.
Cool. Thank you
Uh,
so much.
and just as a question, do you have any projects or anything coming up that you would like to plug?
And not at the transformative happening
Yes,
September 20th. I've
please.
got that going on.
Tickets are on sale now.
I know. I've been sending that link around.
Oh,
Um,
delightful.
other than that, that's what I've got on my plate right now.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for meeting me today, joining me. I can't wait to meet you in person. And break legs. We'll talk very soon.
Thank you so much. Sounds good. I really appreciate it.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.